Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to GarageBand Weekly here on Studio Live today, your weekly dose of all things GarageBand, Logic Pro, home recording, and related stuff. My name is Pete Johns, and for the next hour or so, we're going to be hanging out here having a good time. I'm wondering where that music's coming from. Yeah, you know that thing where you're like really ready to go and then you realize that you haven't set up anything? Yeah, that. So, what have we got today? Well, we're talking about the Severance keyboard available for your Mac coming soon. When you're starting out with a Mac, what shortcut keys do you need to learn? Yeah, we're going to touch on those tariffs that are making news around the world. What are the best vocal settings for your GarageBand recordings? And a brand new free Bit Crusher app. Yeah, that and a whole lot more. We're also going to talk about the future of GarageBand. And most importantly, we're going to answer your questions. So if you've got questions, just put a big Q in front of your questions, and I would be happy to attempt to answer it. This show, as it is each and every week, is brought to you by my GarageBand FAQ. I almost say GarageBand Guide. That's the other bloke with the funny voice. He has GarageBand Guide. Mine is your GarageBand FAQ. If you go to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, you'll find my FAQ there. You can check out all my Logic Pro information. This one, I still haven't updated it. It says new in 2024. It's 2025 now, but we have more than 75-minute GarageBand tips there. You can check out all the great GarageBand communities. Go over and visit Patrick at the GarageBand Guide and answer all of your GarageBand questions there as well. And as our wonderful moderator Thomas says, all you got to do, see, is go to that website there, studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand or GarageBand or however you choose to pronunciate it. You can also go ahead and support me on Patreon. You can become a member. You can donate to the cause. There's a heaps of ways that you can help me out. And a huge thank you to some wonderful folks who've donated. I need to make sure I get the name correct here, but someone gave a donation just recently by the name of David, and David said, thank you for the tips and help with GarageBand. Well, you're very welcome. And honestly, it is the questions I get from you folks that decide what I actually talk about here. And I'll be talking about something related to this little dongle, this USB-C to headphone dongle, because I've had some questions of late about recording without using a microphone, using just the internal mic on your iPad or your iPhone, and you can 100% absolutely still do it. I tested it pre-show, but there's a few little tips and tricks and things you need to do to work around a few of the challenges you have with, and it's all related to TRS and TS and TRRS and all that sort of stuff. Yes, very important note there. The Vegas Golden Knights are 1-0 in the playoffs. So yes, you will also be getting a weekly playoffs update, hopefully, in the coming weeks of GarageBand Weekly, because yes, it is that time of the year where Pete spends a lot of his time watching hockey. So if I'm producing less videos or not answering your questions as quickly, you'll know why. Although the good thing is, while I'm sitting watching hockey, in the period breaks, I just pull out my phone. This is the beauty of being a mobile creator. I'll just pull out my phone and answer emails and answer my YouTube comments and questions there as well. Let's take it out to the folks who are here live, then we'll dive on into the news and notes. We have a Tremor Bear. There's a bear in there. There's a Jade as well. I'm dribbling with excitement. Hello to Joe and Barry Glenn. G'day to Joel Crouch. Hello to our wonderful moderator, Mr. Thomas Christ. I saw Fiona Patrick is here. Mr. Fomiati, g'day to you. Happy Easter, everyone. It is Easter Monday now for a lot of folks. And g'day to Al Davis Music as well. Al Davis sounds like Miles Davis and Al Jolson. You're like a combo of like classic sort of old school blues, jazz kind of players, in my opinion anyway. Hello, Rena. Rena's here. How you doing? So yes, any questions you have, please go ahead and pop them right here in the section. And while you're down there doing your chatting, doing your commenting, feel free to hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up because the sun's up, I believe. Anyway, in at least in this part of the world. In your part of the world, maybe not. Maybe the sun is down. A couple of things. So let's go into the news and notes. I thought this was fun. Let's start with something fun because there's lots of, not bad news, but there's lots of important news and things we need to think about and worry about in the world of Apple. But this was fun. For those of you that are Severance heads like me and watched the whole series and are considering watching it a second time, this is kind of fun. There's a company that's going to make the Severance keyboard. Apparently, it's based on the keyboard of a 1970s terminal with the trackball and the buttons there. I don't quite know how useful it would be. It doesn't have an escape key, a command key, or an option key. So hooking this up to your Mac could be a nice novelty, but you'd probably need a second actual keyboard to be able to do the actual things that you need to do. But just for fun, it would more be a prop, I think, than anything. I'll buy one just to put it in my background. But yeah, it's available soon apparently, and it will no doubt cost $1,012. So yeah, if you wanted to praise Kia and grab yourself that Severance keyboard, terminal keyboard, you can do that. This is an interesting one. Oh my goodness. All these websites now. I get it. You got to make money with your website, but what is all this? Cocoa Pops. Okay. Well, if you can get past the Cocoa Pop ad on this one, I just thought this was cool because when I first got a Mac and I was trying to use GarageBand and Logic Pro, actually this is almost unreadable. No, forget it. No, I'm not going to promote this because that's just shocking. This is Tom's Hardware. Tom's Hardware used to be nice and clean, and now look at it. No wonder folks use ad blockers. Anyway, if you can deal with that, go and check it out. But yeah, there's some handy keyboard shortcuts. If you're just moving to Mac, I know a lot of folks are like me, you are ingrained in Windows with your Windows keys and your Alt tabbing and stuff, and you're trying to learn how to use a Mac, and little things like the Command Spacebar, which I use on the daily, the Option Command 4 to do a screen capture. There's a few things in there that I just use all the time when using my Mac, and switching between apps is not as intuitive because when you Command Tab, you've got to hold down Option to actually go to that thing. So if you're switching between like GarageBand and other apps while you're using it, you don't just Alt Tab and let go. You've got to Alt Tab, hold Option, release. Yeah, it's a little trickier. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, you can do that. Yes, we've got folks that wanting. Yeah, Severance is trippy and fun. It would look awesome. Imagine just having that. Someone just walks into your studio. Actually, it would be a cool studio computer, wouldn't it? If you could get, I wonder, what if someone could do that running GarageBand or Logic on like an old green phosphor monitor with sort of that bulbous look, because I don't think you can get the actual Lumen terminal, and then you've got like the Lumen keyboard. Someone walks into your studio, and you're like, all right, we're ready to go. Because all it would really need is an R key and a space bar. I mean, I don't know. I don't use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. There's probably people that are saying, "Oh no, Johns, if you're a real GarageBand Mac user or Logic Pro Mac, you need the keyboard shortcuts." G'day Bon, Fire. I hope you are doing well. What else we got in the news and notes? Let's talk tariffs. Let's rip off the band-aid of tariffs. So there's an interesting article that asked the question: did Tim Cook orchestrate Apple's tariff break? What we know about it. So look, there's no denying the fact that last time around, Apple got some fairly significantly special treatment when it came to the tariffs and the challenges that other companies had. And Mr. Tim Cook, say what you will about him, he knows his diplomacy. He's worked in supply chains for years. He's worked as operating officer of companies for years and decades. So he knows how to get stuff done, and he knows how to, in the nicest possible way, let's just say, hand to shake. There's other words that you can probably think of there, but he does a very good job of protecting the supply chain and protecting the company that he's working for, and that just happens to be Apple. So if you missed the news that happened recently, the tariffs were going to be imposed, and then they suddenly weren't. They all got paused. The tariffs on Chinese imports, however, which, in case you didn't know, is every iPhone, every iPad, most Macs, they were going to mean that the cost of those devices was going to go up by 100, 150, 200, I don't know. It might as well be 1,000%. Well, I read an article the other day that said as soon as tariffs are over 100%, they might as well be 1,000,000%, because you just simply cannot profit. You cannot profitably export products with 100% tariffs. So it just cuts it off. So you'd have the situation where it'd be like that Professor Frink thing from The Simpsons, where it's like, in my estimation, in 50 years' time, computers are going to be twice as fast, 10,000 times bigger, and only owned by the richest kings of Eurasia or something. I forget the quote, but you know the one if you're a Simpsons fan. Yeah, so it is going to get to the point where if that were the case, yeah, and there'd be technology tourism. Everyone would be going to China for tech tourism because you'd be able to go there, load up your duffel bag with iPads and MacBooks and iPhones, and then go home and sell them to your friends on the grey market. It'll happen. It would happen. You know it would because people wouldn't go without. They'd just find a way. Whenever there's a movement or a culture, there's always a counter movement or counterculture. So you know it's gonna happen. So look, it's that old adage, isn't it, of the things that you can control. Should you worry about it if you can't control it? Doesn't mean you can't speak up about it because, again, here in Australia, we've got some challenges coming up. We're about to have an election. And I just really, 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 really hope that we learnt the lesson that even something, you're like, oh, it can't be that bad. And then it ends up being worse. So if we go, well, we'll just do the same thing. We'll get a conservative government in here that are going to fix the cost of living and fix the prices and make eggs cheaper again. We've seen that it doesn't work because the people that they just don't care at all. They don't care about the there's no goodwill towards people. It's all towards their rich oligarch billionaire friends. And you can argue with that, but it's a very hard argument to make. And I kind of love it because I think I said it the other day, we're post politics, folks. We're at the point now where if someone comes in here and says, I, for one, agree with 150% tariffs on China, then I'm sorry, but you don't need to watch anymore. And I'll take the hit of a few folks that don't watch because they fundamentally disagree that people should be put first and that billionaires should be put last because I'm not going to change mine. Vote for Jade. Yeah, let's vote for Jade. All right. Does Simpsons talk? Does the Simpsons talk with the? Yeah, yeah. Oh no! What do you call Tim Cook's pea? It's that apple juice. And yeah, the bottom line is, if they actually were, look, I'd be a little more behind it if it was actually a tax on companies. A tax on companies that, how about, here's the thing, how about we tax the energy production? How about we tax companies by their energy production so that companies like Apple that are going for net zero emissions actually can benefit from doing that. And companies like Nvidia, who just want to burn the planet down with all of their manufacturing and use of all of their GPUs, get taxed on that because they can afford it. Their share price needs to go down because they are way overvalued, as are Tesla still. Anyway, should we get off that topic? Yeah, let's get off that topic now. Let's talk more about GarageBand. I've got some new additions to my GarageBand iOS 5-minute tip series. So if you jump in the description, you'll be able to do that and learn more about GarageBand iOS. So I've got a new one there because folks were asking me about the sustain. Sustain's really weird in GarageBand because it doesn't show up until you add it. And sometimes if you forget to add it, people are like, but now I want to add sustain. All you have to do is use a little function called the record, multi-record. And then when you actually record it again, you can just record in the sustain over the top. You can do that with all instruments. You can do it with drums. You can layer up drums. You can do it with the wah pedal and the other effects. You can do it with effects in general. So Alchemy Synth, if you've ever wanted to do an Alchemy Synth thing where you're doing like a nice filter envelope and you're like, I can't play the part and do the envelope at the same time. Yeah, you can use the record. It's not called multi-record. What is it called? It is called recording. No, that's the wrong one. It is called Merge Recordings. Thank you, me. So you can check out that one. Vocal settings. I went through each individual vocal setting. So all 9 of the presets and told you what they did, how to tweak them, and which ones I use. So if you are looking to learn a little bit more about GarageBand on your iPhone or iPad, then you'll be good to go. Final thing here, I haven't checked this one out, but old mate Patrick at the GarageBand Guide checked it out. There he is, telling you all about it. A brand new plugin, a new bit crusher called Dynabunny from Caleb Audio, who do good stuff. It's absolutely free for a short period of time, though. It's kind of an Easter thing, and yeah, you can see it's a little bit insane by the looks of that little bunny there. Basically, the more you bit crush, the angrier the bunny looks. And if you use bit crushers, just download it, stick it in your kit bag. It's way better than the built-in bit crusher in GarageBand and even the Logic Pro one because it's got some mix controls and it's got a little bit more subtle control abilities. You can do everything from 1 bit up to 16-bit downsampling and everything from 1 hertz to 48,000 hertz, 48 kilohertz. So it's just a nice option to have. Download it now while it's free. Take advantage of these developers and support your local developers. Didn't have it in the rundown either here, but go and check out, if you don't know, myself, Thomas Christ, and Jade Starr do live shows every Sunday afternoon for us, Saturday evening for most people in most parts of the world. Thomas Christ does Thomas Christ Live. I do my happy hour show, and Jade has just pivoted from the opening hour to her creator hour. I think a song in an hour challenge, which is really good. If you're using, especially if you're using Logic Pro, I think Jade's used Logic Pro on both of your first 2 versions, Jade. I'm usually frantically practicing for my show at the time. But if you want to learn and you want to see someone using Logic Pro in real time, exactly how you set up the tracks, what effects to add, how to mix it, how to tweak it, then go and check out Jade's videos on that. There you go. There's Patrick's video on the Dynabuddy. Doesn't work for your 2019 MacBook Pro. Check Patrick's video again, and there's a link in Patrick's video showing you how to add it in. You've got to install it, and then you've got to use it via I can't remember the name of the window. Patrick mentions it. So go try and follow Patrick's instructions because he's got a good video showing how to install. I have to go, every time I use GarageBand, because I don't use it much on the Mac, I have to go back and watch Patrick's video about how to even install and add and use plugins in that one. There you go. This post has links for all of the past. Yeah, so thank you to Thomas. Thomas every week has been putting up, here's what's happening live on the show, which is cool. So thank you for doing that. Hello, Fat Panda Cat. How are you doing? Question from Al Davis Music. And look, it does. I will get into our feature. Well, our feature topic is going to be a quick one. So start thinking about your comments about the future of GarageBand now, or if you've got any other questions. But this is actually related to a question that I got through the week, which is how do you go about recording onto your iPhone or your iPad? In fact, I might use the iPhone because I think I'll be able to actually show this and do it in real time if I can. Yep, do I have? Yep, I've got my headphones here. So how do you record? First of all, what's the logistics of recording using the built-in microphone on your iPhone or iPad? Because if you've ever tried this, back in the days where your iPhones and iPads had what am I trying to say? Let's just load up this. So I've got a project loaded up. You won't see the green because it'll be see-through the green screen. Back in the day, your iPhones and iPads had a headphone jack, and it made it super duper easy because what you do see is you plug a pair of headphones into the headphone jack, you listen and monitor there, and then you sing or play guitar or do whatever recording you want through the built-in microphone right here on your iPhone or your iPad. The problem came about when they removed the headphone jack from all iPhones and iPads and replaced it with either just Lightning or with now the USB-C. Now, the problem that folks are having is that if you plug in, so first of all, you will need this. You will need the USB-C to 3.5mm dongle that you can get from Apple. It is $10 US, I think. It's $15 here in Australia. Yes, that's too much for a piece of plastic. And yes, you can buy the third-party ones. Your mileage is going to vary on the third-party ones. I always use the Apple stuff when I'm adapting things like this. So you plug that into your USB-C, or there's, of course, the Lightning to 3.5mm. And the important thing to know is that this is a TRRS jack. Stands for tip, ring, sleeve. That means it sends stereo audio out and accepts mono audio in. Why is that important? You're probably ahead of me on this. It means that if you use headphones like these, like the JBL Endurance Run that I use as my wired headphones, and you plug those in, this is now going to use this microphone. It is going to switch to the microphone. Let's see if I can pull up a track here. We'll go to mic track. There we go, audio recorder. Check, 1, 2. It is now using this microphone, right? So over here, no, yes. So if you've got headphones with a built-in microphone, it's going to use those, and that's a problem because you probably don't want to use those. You want to use the built-in microphone. However, the answer is to plug in a pair of headphones that only have a TRS jack, because TRRS jacks are actually smart. They're smart enough to know when you're plugging in regular headphones versus when you're plugging in a headset, which has both. So now what you're seeing there is that when I'm singing into this and tapping on my phone, this green line over here, which is a see-through line because of green screen, I'm recording using the internal microphone. I can now monitor using these headphones, and I can record using the internal microphone. So they're the two things that you got to keep in mind. You need to adapt from Lightning or USB-C to a TRRS, and then you need to use only TRS headphones, because as soon as you plug others in, ain't going to work. And someone else had the same problem where actually an email that I got today that was talking about this, they also said, and the same thing happens if they use their Focusrite audio interface. They plug their headphones into their Focusrite and then they don't get any recording. Well, that's because it's using the Focusrite is creating an audio output, but also is overwriting the audio input. And because iOS, iPads, and iPhones are dumb in the way that they handle audio. Basically, the last thing you plug in is what it uses for its input and output, and there is no way to overwrite that. So if the last thing you plug in is this dongle, it's now using this. It is smart enough to keep using the microphone until it detects a microphone in that TRRS jack, but once there is something plugged in there, that's the end of it. So if this was connected instead to a Focusrite Scarlett Solo that this creator was using, then that Focusrite Scarlett, the input is just the mic or the guitar input on that Scarlett. There's no way to tell it, don't use that. Instead, just play the audio through my headphones and use the internal one. So there's your answer. Grab yourself one of these and you will be good to go. And I did have to double check it because, like I said, back in the early days, it was so much easier before they decided to take away my headphone jack. Yeah, you don't see many iPhone only recording interfaces anymore. You really, really don't. It's it is different. It's a different world. Alrighty, yeah, I know, and they are super easy to use. The Lightning ones, I reckon I went through 10 of them in the time that I used Lightning-based iPhones, and this is only my second USB-C. And the reason is it lives permanently attached to my. These are in my. I just got these out of my backpack. These are my JBL Endurance. Actually, no, they're not. Oh, these are my backups. These are my old Sonys. So these are my Sony that I use as my backup of backups, because you've always got to have headphones, because I never leave home without at least multiple sets of headphones in my bag. Hello, Dan Ekberg. I hope you are doing well. Yeah, look, I did recordings early on using just that, and it's all good. Hello, Hugo. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Thank you for dropping by. And Turbo Christ. We've got Thomas Christ and Turbo Christ. We got all the Christs in the house. So yeah, and in terms of couple more tips with this. If you are using the internal microphone, you want to experiment with the positioning and the pointing of it. So your microphones are generally down the bottom of your device, as you'd imagine, because that's, when you talk. For those that actually talk into a phone, like a real phone, that don't walk around talking into their phones like this, like the kids do, does anyone know why that is? Why do they talk into their phones like this? Not even on speakerphone, but they'll be like, blah, 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 blah. They do realize that you can just keep the speaker on your ear and the microphone will pick up your voice. You don't have to talk into the butt of your phone. Does anyone else notice that? Does that bug anyone else, or is that just old man yelling at clouds here? Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. What was my point? Yeah, so in terms of the placement, there's a couple of things that you can do. Some folks like to get like a cushion or a pillow and place it so that you can kind of position it. It'll also stop any rumbles or any interference from like vibration and stuff. You can also put it in, I don't have it here. My daughter stole it back. You can also put it in like a phone holder, so that can work well. So you basically use it like a mic stand. So if you've got one of those phone tripods or a selfie stick or something. You can put it in there, and then you can position it in different ways. And you can actually get some pretty cool stereo recording effects if you get far enough away from it. You don't want to be right up on it. The microphones in these things are very sensitive. They're not really designed for instruments, and especially louder instruments or for vocals. So you generally want to give it a good distance. The minimum being your that rigidage, yeah, hang 10, dude. The minimum being that. So you don't ever want to be up on it like that. When you're recording vocals, you always want to give it at least your thumb to your little finger of distance from your microphone. Otherwise, unless you want the proximity effect, because as you probably know, the closer you get to a microphone, the more you get the proximity effect, which is that low down radio voice sound. But you generally don't want that. You want to be, even I'm on this one because it's a broadcast mic, I tend to get up a little closer because I want a little bit more of that. But if I was recording vocals, I would sing back here because you want to have that space between you and the microphone. It also gives you a much more level performance because the closer you are, every time you move your head, it's going to change. Whereas if you're back here, even if you're moving your head a little bit, notice how the sound is a lot more level. It means you have to do less automation work, less compression work as well after the fact. Yeah, absolutely. They definitely can. I really early on, I used a Samson C1 condenser mic, and then I did some backing vocals using this instead, and I was like, oh, I was kind of blown away by how good it was. It was pretty cool. Question from Jeremy Deshaw says, will GarageBand get more features or less to eliminate competition for Logic's? Yeah, so let's talk about this. So this is what I wanted to talk about as our feature topic. So what, we're only halfway through the show, and we've finally got to the feature topic. So I did want to talk about this, and I'd love to get your feedback and opinions on the future of GarageBand, because look, like most things, you'll get some people saying doom and gloom. Like I still remember when I was first started doing this channel, I got comments from someone saying, oh, you know that they're going to remove GarageBand next month. And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? They're like, yeah. No, Apple are planning to remove GarageBand. They're not going to develop anymore. They've removed their development team. They're not going to develop anymore. And I think I said something along the lines at the time, like, I will, if Apple choose to remove a free app from their iPhones, iPads, and Macs that is basically selling a lot of those products for them with very little effort from their end, I'll probably eat my hat. I'll be very surprised if that is the case. But they were absolutely adamant. And it got me sort of double checking and double thinking, going, maybe there's something I don't know. Maybe there's something under this, but no, turned out no. So luckily I didn't jump at shadows and stop producing GarageBand videos, because 3,200 videos later, GarageBand is showing no signs of going anywhere. We're going to run a quick ad here, and then we're going to dive into this feature topic. If you have YouTube Premium, you're probably seeing nothing, but if you don't, you're probably just getting a little ad. Let us know what you got the ad for. It's always fun to see what folks have had an ad of there. The iPad Pro, yes, the iPad Pro has great external mics, and so does the MacBook Pro. The mics on that thing are amazing. I'm going to try out some recording. I'm testing out the AirPod Max and plugging them in directly, and I want to try just recording some vocals using nothing but the AirPods Pro Max and the built-in microphone on the MacBook Pro. I reckon that'd be cool. See people take cardboard boxes and make amazing isolated vocal booths. Yeah, just put on your head. I know. I have seen people wearing like big kind of almost like Doc Brown from Back to the Future weird arrangements around their head that give them isolation. It's pretty good. My dad has one because he got the shakes from years of mining. Oh, yeah, no good. No good at all. So let's talk. We'll have a quick drink, have a little coffee. Let's talk about the future of GarageBand. So, I got to admit, I've been a little annoyed in recent times at the development of GarageBand. So there was a time when about every 6 months there would be at least a point 0.1 update to GarageBand. So back in the day, we had GarageBand 2.1 that brought us things like automation and plugins and EQs and effects and all the cool stuff. We had 2.2 that added Alchemy synth and that added a whole bunch of extra instruments. We had 2.3, which added a whole bunch of extra functionality, such as the key, 24-bit audio and the key notes, like notes on the keyboard. And then it just dried up. And we're at the point where we are now at GarageBand 2.3.18. So we haven't had a complete dot update since 2.3. We've had 16 little incremental tweakles, but we haven't had a big update since 2.3. So forget about your 3.0. We haven't even got to 2.4. And I think that it'll be a long time before we do. Why is that? So, couple of things that the conspiracy theorists will jump straight to. It's because of Logic. And look, Jeremy Deshaw's question is absolutely relevant. And I think it's part of it is that Logic Pro was released on the iPad. Apple want you to have that progression path. They want you to buy an iPad, start using GarageBand, realize it's awesome, find out from this weird guy in Australia that Logic Pro's on iPad, watch some videos and realize that you've got things like a master track and automation of effects and the ability to master within the app itself and a whole bunch more control over everything. And then they're going to try Logic Pro and then they're going to fall in love and subscribe to it. And it's no surprise that Apple are highly promoting and pushing and relying on their services. So if you don't know, Apple have products, obviously, and they have services. Products are iPhones, iPads, and Macs, and Vision Pros, and headphones, and cables, and chargers, and all that sort of stuff. And then the services. And what's happened over the last 10 years is that the services have increased and increased and increased. The actual products, even though they're continuing to sell a lot of products, that's only gone up a little tiny bit. Like iPhone, everyone's got an iPhone, right? And in fact, people are starting to replace their iPhones and iPads and even their Macs less often. If you've got a MacBook Pro M1 right now, I don't think you need an M4. If you've got an iPhone 15 right now, I don't think you need a 17 or need to be lining up waiting for the 18. So I think that we are at the point where services are really, really important to everyone, but especially Apple. So Apple have services like iCloud. They, of course, have Apple News and Apple Games and Apple Music and Apple TV. That's how we get to watch our precious Severance, which I love. So they've got all these services. And one of the services is now their professional apps, Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. So you could have the exact same conversation about iMovie, because iMovie's in the same boat. iMovie hasn't had a significant update in more than 2 years as well. Is it coincidence that Final Cut Pro came out 2 years ago? And same with GarageBand. Is it a coincidence that Logic Pro for iPad came out 2 years ago? No, I don't think so, because putting development into adding new features to the free app that works fine right now, is not going to give any bang for buck. Is it a bit sad for GarageBand users that we're not going to get anything new? Yeah, but what are we going to get? Okay, there's two things that I think should be added to GarageBand that whenever I get the opportunity to talk to Apple, I say this, and by the way, I don't get to talk to Apple often. As much as people think that I have weekly conversations with Apple and they tell me what to say because I'm an Apple fan person, not the case. I talk to them maybe once a year if I'm lucky, but I never miss an opportunity if they say, oh, so do you have any questions? And I'm like, no, but I have one statement. When can we get a master volume control and or the ability to turn off auto normalization in GarageBand? That is all I want. All I want for Christmas is master volume or the ability to turn off auto normalization. If you don't know what they are or why that's important, that's cool. I've ranted about it too many times, and the people that are here every week are sick of it. But they're basically the two things that will take the ability to make complete songs in GarageBand with ease and just add that final little professional touch to it. At the moment, you can do it, but there's some workarounds you need to put in place. So removing the friction of those workarounds and not having to add a really loud noise and then use the FX trick to create a master volume to turn your track down. If we didn't have to do that, life would be a hell of a lot better in the GarageBand world? Am I expecting things like automation of effects? Am I expecting buses and sends and receives to come to GarageBand? Am I expecting them to develop whole new instrument sets into GarageBand? No. I would love it. So let's just say, like, ukulele would be a cool instrument in GarageBand. A lot of people have talked about having some slide guitar or something, some Indian instruments to go to complement like the Chinese and the Japanese instruments we have. All those things would be cool. I don't think they're coming because what I do think is going to come is enhancements to Logic Pro's instrument set. So I think we'll get things like a proper horns, like a proper virtual horns section, like we have with the keyboards and the bass and the drums and what's the other one? What am I forgetting? Keys, bass, drums. What's the other smart instruments that we have? We don't have strings. Oh man, I'm flaking out on things. But I think we are going to get like a proper strings. I know we have the strings already, the studio strings and the studio horns, but I think having the actual AI versions of those in Logic Pro is probably what the development team. Again, this is all speculation because I don't know, but I would imagine that that's more what they're developing than additional GarageBand instruments. So, future of GarageBand wise, I don't think we're getting new features, but what I would love to see is for them to fix some of the bugs because what we are seeing at the moment is a much longer gap between versions. And some of the bugs that we have in there at the moment, like that weird auto scroll bug and a few other little bugs that close things down, are starting to frustrate and annoy. And I know the last Logic Pro update had about 10 pages of bugs, yet we still have bugs like the unwieldy, unnatural closing of the project that happens for no reason, or that time where you open the project and even though you've got the instrument soloed, nothing is playing, and the only way to fix it is to close and reopen it. So I I guess my point is I don't care if there's no I don't think there will be more development in GarageBand, and I don't really care if there's more development in GarageBand as long as the work is done to fix the current bugs. And can I just say, we have a responsibility here too, folks, because if you are complaining about the bugs but not reporting the bugs to Apple, you S out of luck. It's a bit like politics. If you don't go and vote, and if you don't get informed and learn about the different issues and the different parties and what they stand for, you can't then go and complain when the wrong one gets in. So same with this sort of stuff. If you'd like to complain, more power to you. We should be. We should be saying not in a damaging way, but in a constructive way, saying we would be able to make better music more easily if we didn't have this bug or this bug or this problem. It would just make life better. So do that, I say. Only now discovering how cool Alchemy to get samples in and using build. Yeah, it's absolutely cool, isn't it? Old memory foam mattress makes cheesy soundproofing. There you go. Just make sure they've been deep cleaned. Yeah. You don't want to, what is that again? The Simpsons? It's like, oh, the men's shelter is giving away some used mattresses. Yeah, you don't want to use that. But yes, some mattresses are good. Anything soft, to be honest, like any soft furnishings. Like in this room, I don't have a whole lot of reflections. I've got virtually zero soundproofing in here, except for curtain, green screen, and bed. And I don't talk directly into a wall. So the reason I'm on an angle, not that you can really tell, but the reason I'm on an angle is you always want your reflections to not come boom right back into your face. That's how you get that real boxy effect. So good stuff. I will get to your question in a moment, Rena. Thank you. Unfortunately, music isn't as tactile as drawing or something like film. They have to update for Apple Pens, new codecs, etc. As long as GB can record, yeah, I think you're spot on. I think as long as it can do the things it does now, I don't think we're getting major upgrades. I could see eventually being a situation where GB becomes Logic Lite or Logic becomes GarageBand Pro. Buying the subscription merely unlocks full. Yeah, that's a really interesting point Thomas makes here. And that's the way I thought it would go, to be honest. I didn't think we'd get Logic Pro, but I did have an outside inkling suspicion that maybe we would see GarageBand Pro and maybe iMovie Pro because I didn't really think that they would want to put. And look, Apple did get affected by the fact that they called it Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro because real users of Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro on Mac started using these products and went, but I can't this and I can't that and I can't, yeah. So they focused on all the things they couldn't do. And a lot of people said, well, this isn't a pro work platform because I can't do all the things that I do. on my Pro device. So if you had a Mac Pro with like 8 terabytes of external storage with a whole bunch of samples and things on there, you can't really do the same thing on Logic Pro for iPad. And even though they said there's round trip compatibility where you can go from iPad to Mac to iPad, you can't. If you're using things like AU plugins on your Mac, you send it back to your iPad, you don't have those plugins. So it never quite worked that way. I always look at GarageBand as Logic Pro Junior. There you go. Logic Pro Junior. G'day to Robert. The virtual instruments on GarageBand iOS. It does. And that's the thing. The one thing that I think that not the one thing, but one of the things that GarageBand has going for it is the ease of use of getting started, that you can literally just come in here and tap on a thing that looks like a thing and immediately be playing. I'm not plugged in. I better plug in case we want to use the audio at some stage. But yeah, you're right. You just having the ability to do that is quite amazing. Logic isn't on iPhone. I know. So if you're an iPhone user, no Logic Pro. And I get that decision. There's no reason it can't run on the latest iPhones because it can run on the iPad Mini that has the same chip as the iPhones. So it could run. It's just a screen real estate size thing. They didn't want. It's that Apple thing where they want to forbid you from doing it so that the experience isn't bad, so that people don't complain. Oh, but my screen's so small. Why not just say make it available, but your screen's going to be small? Because for me, if I could, the reason I still like to use GarageBand in the early stages of my projects is that I can throw it onto my phone and I can go around listening to it and adding ideas. So when I'm in the ideation process, as opposed to the actual recording and mixing and mastering, I want to be able to have it with me on the go. And the problem with Logic Pro is that unless I take my iPad with me, if I'm walking around and I've suddenly got an idea for another sort of part, I can just grab my phone and literally just sing into the built-in mic and add it. Even if it picks up all the background noise and the whatever, it doesn't matter. I've got that idea down and it's in my project. I then come back to the studio, open it up on my iPad, and it's there as well. So yes, I agree with that. If you add too much, it takes away the upgrade path. And that's the other thing. If you made it less annoying, if you remove some of those things that annoy us about GarageBand, perhaps people would stay on GarageBand and they wouldn't make the jump. And yes, and the annoying thing about this one, Arena, is that GarageBand Mac has a little switch that you just go flick and it turns off auto normalization. It can't be that hard. It's got to be there in the code. I think genuinely that it's buried so deep in the code and they've gone through so many different development teams in the last 15 years that they don't even know where it is. And they're worried that if they try and find it and make it selectable, that they'll break 10 other things that sit on top of that code. Yeah, and I'm the same. I will never bother doing my final mix and master in GarageBand again. Even if I do absolutely everything, even if I record every instrument, even if I do everything in GarageBand, I move to Logic Pro to do that final step because it is so much easier to mix and master when you have a master fader and when it doesn't auto normalize. You can actually set headroom and give yourself headroom so that you can do your final master and actually have 6 or 12 dB of headroom. It makes a huge difference. Hello, Mark Bro. I hope you're doing well. Jacob Colley is coming to Australia, by the way. He's sold out, but my brother and sister-in-law are going along. Thomas says it would be cool if GarageBand had some simple built-in mastering where you could trigger some multi-band compressor presets behind the scenes and an off option, of course. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing I'm surprised of, Tom, that they don't have the ability to do mastering at all. But if they want to do the hold your hand thing, why the heck don't they do like a simple BandLab style 4 preset master things? Just have rock, R&B, I don't know what else you'd have, cinematic and pop. And just put that there, and then people, or just light, medium, heavy, just so that you can do a quick master before you release. I guess that's what they think the auto normalization does. But the problem is, I said I wasn't going to rant on this, but I will. The problem with auto normalization is you don't know, because you don't have good metering in GarageBand. The vast majority of people that produce in GarageBand produce at too high a volume. So their overall project is clipping. It is too loud. So what it does when they export it, it sounds okay when it's being played back in GarageBand because GarageBand is just kind of helping it. It's sort of automatically leveling things out and lowering the overall volume. And it sounds cool. And in fact, it sounds better than if you go in and turn down the volume. People think, oh, it sounds too weak and it sounds like not full enough. Problem being, when you go to export it, if it's clipping, so let's just say that your overall level or your peak levels are hitting plus 6 dB. Well, what GarageBand's doing is when you're playing it back, is leveling all that to 0 dB. And it's not doing it it's doing it in a much better way because it's processing it with its own audio processing engine. As soon as you export it, it's got to make decisions about all of that. So when it does its auto normalization, it basically just squashes down the top and it pushes everything down to 0. But it doesn't do it in a way that's like, oh, we'll just turn everything down 6 dB. It squashes the peaks using compression. And that's the problem. It's not a pure normalization. It's more like automatic compression than it is automatic normalization. Going the other way is fine. Going the other way, it uses a normal normalization process, which is, say your maximum peak is -6, it pulls that peak to 0 and pulls everything else up 6 dB. Going the other way, if you're at +6, it doesn't reduce anything else. It just pulls down that 6 dB of gain for those peaks. That's why if you ever hear a GarageBand track where the drums have that that really harsh kind of crunchy sound, or the guitars or the bass, or every time the bass hits, it ducks everything else, that's because it's using this automatic compression engine that just doesn't sound good. And again, I think there's a lot of artists out there that think that their music is crap and they're no good at mixing because they don't know that this is what's happening. And that's why I rant about it, because people need to know it's not you. Well, it is you. You just need to turn everything down about 25%. That's all, because it is impacting the quality of the exports of your instruments. Anyway. uh, yeah, look, and it would be good. And for all the reasons as I talked before about services, I just don't think that we're getting Logic Pro without a service. Yeah. I don't think it's happening because the reason everyone's going subscription, and look, full disclosure, one of the biggest sponsors of this channel is DistroKid, and they are a subscription service. And I'm completely comfortable with them being a subscription service. I think that the streaming music world is so dynamic, and who knows where it's going to be? Who knows in 5 years' time whether Spotify will still be king, what Apple Music is doing, what YouTube is doing with their music stuff. I don't mind it being month by month, year by year for something like that, because it's actually providing an active service. It's adding new things, they're adding new stores. It's very interactive. Paying for a plugin and for software is a bit different, unless it's actually updating. And I think it's very interesting that we haven't heard, and maybe I'm going to say this and then hey, I get a tap on the shoulder in a week's time. But I would be surprised if we didn't have some sort of Logic Pro update coming around about the time that everyone's doing their second year renewal. Because when did Logic Pro? Let's ask AI. When did Logic Pro for iPad come out? Let's see if Google AI can generate it. May 23rd. So what have we got? We got a month. So it was May 23rd. So many of us are coming up to our third year of Logic Pro use. So now is the time, right? Pressure's on. Do we need will you renew Logic Pro? Or maybe I should do that as a survey on the channel. Will you renew Logic Pro for the third year? Would an update, would a big update make a difference? What would you have to see from Logic Pro to make you update and keep using it? Interesting. Yes, there are. So the voice, and I've heard that as well, that from our vision impaired users, that the voiceover also has plenty of bugs. I was trying to remember your name the other day, Omni Collective. I couldn't recall because you haven't been around for a while. Alrighty. GarageBand on Mac is definitely Logic Lite for sure. So GarageBand on Mac, and it does have a lot more options and functionality, and I think there's less of an incentive to move from GarageBand to Logic on Mac. Hello, Deep Gravity. Hope you are doing well. I'm an accomplished letter writer. I think I'll write a great one. Question: would you talk about music XML files using Logic Pro for iPad? XML files. What are the XML files? Let's ask. Let's ask. What are XML files in Logic Pro? Music XMLs contain MIDI data as well as additional notation data that is mapped to Logic Pro notation features, including some symbols, staff styles, and more. You can import music XML file to a new or existing project, play the resulting region of the project, and view the regions as music notations. So I guess it is. I've never done anything with any sort of complicated MIDI stuff in Logic Pro, so I'm assuming that it's related to that. And someone that knows more can probably answer it better than that. But yeah, music XML files. So XML is extended markup language. So I'm assuming because HTML is hypertext markup language, XML usually stands for extended markup language. So music XML sounds to me more like a data file, similar to a MIDI file, I guess, that you would store, but maybe it stores additional data as opposed to just the general MIDI. Maybe it stores some Logic Pro tempo and other data on top of that. GarageBand Mobile, it is. It is still the easiest and most user-friendly. Exactly. And screen size does not matter for blind people. Exactly. You tell them. See, we should be telling Apple this. Why does it care? Why do you care about that? Yeah, maybe a developer mode of that, of Logic Pro on the iPhone. All the upscaled apps. I miss music memos too. I do. I used to love music memos. It's still available if you have it, but it seems to have lost its drums. Has anyone tried it lately? So we're going off on tangents. This show might as well be called Tangents Live with Pete Johns. Recording is moving. Yeah, I know. Recording is moving. So if you don't know about voice memos, it was the coolest app in the world ever. You'd just do this and you'd la da 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 da. You'd do it like a little idea, and it would like track it, and it would work out the chords that you're singing or that you're playing, and you could add bass and drums. But you know what it does now? It does nothing, and then it crashes. Wow, that was it giving me that. It's like not only am I not going to play the bass and drums along to that, I'm going to immediately crash. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, where Apple decided not to keep developing music memos and they moved it to voice memos, which is fine. It's fine. Yes, best and most unused function is the Logic Remote, so you can connect your iPad to your Mac in GarageBand Logic and use it. Exactly. You totally can do that. I covered it. Hey, maybe I've got to cover it again, hey? It's been a while. Maybe I need to cover that again because where am I? Pete Johns, Garage. No, what was it called? Logic Pro, Logic Remote. So if you've never played with this, here it is. I covered it. I only covered it 3 years ago. So yeah, as you can see here in the little clip, you can bring it up and you can play on your touchscreen, and it will record into GarageBand or Logic. It doesn't even have to be Logic Pro. It can be GarageBand as well. So if you're using Logic Pro or GarageBand on your Mac, and you're like, I love everything about this, but I miss the fact that I can just play in my strings and my keys and my instruments, yeah, you can do it. You can use it as like a controller, as like a little mini MIDI controller. You're right. It is. Excuse me. I know. And I don't know why. In the land of AI, why is there no one that is developing a music app that does what music memos did? I don't know. I don't get it. Still works for me. I refuse to transfer the files. I know. Yeah, I did the same, but as you saw there, it's a little flaky. Don't worry. What music? I'll tell you. Music Memos was a fabulous little app where you could play in an idea. So, say you had a guitar chord progression, or just a vocal idea, or a keyboard idea. You could play it in, and it would. In fact, let's go. Pete Johns Music Memos. While I'm talking about my old videos, the very first video, if you want to go for a bit of John's nostalgia, this here was the first video ever on Studio Live today. I'm going to, I'll copy and paste it here into the chat. This one was on the 1st of February 2016, and this explains exactly what music memos used to do. So you can see there, let's just full screen it. You can see that this was on my iPhone 5S, and I had a little idea there, and it basically it notates it. So it says E, A, D, E, A, D, G. You can adjust the tempo, the time signature, and then it plays along with it. So let's just see if we can get the audio here. Like that, you weren't sure if that chord was going to fit. You can actually hit the preview button. Oh, I've got some audio from the game that I was playing beforehand on my PlayStation remote here on my Mac. Yeah, I play my PS5 on my Mac. It's pretty cool. Of our song. But let's just take a look at it. Let's see how it's sounding now. So you can't really hear that well because, yes, I am in the dark closet back in the day. But what it basically does is it adds bass and drums to a guitar or to a singing or to a keyboard part that you play. And it was just a great way to capture quick ideas. And then you could even send it. So I remember back in the day, who was it? It was Matt Anderson. When he first started creating music, he would create it in music memos, export it to GarageBand, and actually use those recordings in his final product, which was pretty cool. The ability to convert any sound or audio file into MIDI and quantize would be great. Yeah, there's a few apps and things that can do that, I know, but yeah, nothing built in. It would be great if it was all just built in. Fat Panda Cat says, I know a few game developers who are panicking now because even if they sell well, it's not going to keep them all afloat. Yeah, look, it's hard, isn't it? It's why we're completely flooded with things like microtransactions, because it's the only way, and like subscription models for developers, it's the only way that anyone can survive, whether they're developing apps or plugins or games or any sort of software. Look, I'm the same. Why do I have Patreon? Why do I have a membership here on YouTube? It's because I need to find a way to make continuous ongoing income to keep the lights on and pay the bills. If I don't, then I can't. So yeah, it's the same for big corporations and companies and for small developers as well. It's all the same sort of stuff. Peace in the closet. Yeah, no. The only thing I was closeted about then was my vegetarianism, which now I'm proud about. Yeah. And voice control to the AI stuff would be good as well. All right. We are coming close to the end of the show. I don't know why I started talking like that. I'm just going to set you up here because I realize I once again failed to set the redirect so that you can go and check out Mr. Frankie Terzo. He's got the Community Pulse show going on right now. So you'll be dumped over to there. So go and say g'day to Frank. He's always talking about all the cool shows, all the cool creators in this community, and I don't know who his guest is this week. Let's find out. Let's go to Frank's show and have a quick look in and see how loud his microphone is this week. So you can jump over. He's got Laurie as a co-host by the look of it, and he has featured artist is Donna Mitchell, who I'm not aware of. So that'll be cool because as much as I like seeing people that I know, it's good to see other people as well.
Another fantastic
he's wearing his Leafs jersey.
Some fantastic music Martin's putting out, maybe 2 a week.
There you go. He is live right now. And if you are watching on the replay, you can, of course, go and check out Frank's show. Anytime you like, just search Frank Terzo, Terz or Z. Oh, no, he's Canadian. It's Z, isn't it, for Canadian friends? Thank you, folks, for hanging out with me. Hopefully you had a bit of a chuckle, a bit of a laugh, enjoyed the tangents and the ride. Yeah, to finish off, what's the future of GarageBand? I think it's still bright. I think there's plenty of folks that are still creating amazing music using GarageBand. Use what you have. Use what you can afford. Use what you have right now and just create the best music that you can. The gear does not make the music. You do. So create with what you have and share it with the world. Create, record, release, as someone once said. Yes, the Leafs are looking good as they are at the start of most playoffs. And then, no, not this time. I want to see a Leafs Golden Knights finals. How about that? Thank you. Yes, you can become a channel member if you so desire. You can also join the Patreon. You can support me in all the ways that you'll find linked down in the description. But until next time, folks, please be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you next time here on GarageBand Weekly. Bye for now.